And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm National Weather Service Meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska Aviation Weather Outlook on this Thursday, January 9th, 2025. And this outlook will be for the early weekend, Friday into Saturday. And of note, we are going to have a series of low pressure systems that continue to come up from the North Pacific, coming up across the Aleutians, affecting areas of the west, southwest coast, eastern Bering, and especially western northern Gulf as we go through this weekend. These systems are going to be wet with wind, heavier snowfall in the mid-upper level elevations of coastal mountains, warmer temperatures into areas of the southern, southeast, east central interior, especially late this weekend, because as I said, there's at least 3 systems. So we have one that will be crossing up across the Aleutians and then moving out here toward the southwest coast. Another one will be coming, we have a low as of this Thursday in the Gulf that will weaken, but it'll still have some lingering precipitation across the Gulf Coast Panhandle. Mountains still getting some lingering snow. And back to the west, we find that where the air is cold enough will initially be some snow. And then by the time we get in the Friday afternoon, things kind of just lingering, lighter precipitation along areas of the Gulf Coast and Panhandle. Notice IFR conditions along the inner coastal mountains there, east of the inner channels areas. The intercoastal mountains in the north portion there of the Gulf, southeast slopes here of the Alaska Range, an area along and south of the Brooks Range to the Yukon River, and then from the Bering Strait down through St. Lawrence, Nunavik Island, the YK Deltas, and St. Matthew. On Saturday, we're waiting for yet another low coming up that later this weekend is really going to bring in more wind, rain, milder temperatures with the exception of the higher elevations of the mountains here across south central, southeast Alaska. Widespread IFR conditions, inner channels, intercoastal mountains of the Panhandle along the Gulf Coast back to Prince William Sound, the eastern Kenai. Pocket of IFR, south slopes here of the central Brooks Range, and then along areas of the west coast, especially western Seward Peninsula, Bering Strait all the way down along the YK Deltas. And for Saturday afternoon, we find IFR conditions continuing intercoastal mountains of the Panhandle up to Chilkoot White Passes and above Yakutat Bay and along the Wrangell St. Elias Mountains as you get in from the coast, south slopes and spine of the Brooks Range, lower Chukchi Sea, down through the Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, and then we find an area out over the eastern Aleutians and lower portion of the Alaska Peninsula. That low with wind will be coming northward Sunday into Monday. So for Friday, past conditions along areas of the east central Brooks Range, Anaktuvik and Adigan Pass, MVFR conditions becoming IFR. So there'll definitely be lower ceilings as a result of lowering clouds. And Lake Clark, Merrill, MVFR becoming IFR there along the west arm of the Alaska Range, especially any eastward southern facing slopes. Rainy Pass, MVFR also becoming IFR. Windy Pass, MVFR on Friday becoming IFR. Isabel may be stuck in IFR conditions throughout Friday, and then further east, Mentasta Pass may actually see MVFR conditions Friday morning become VFR for a short time. And then Tanita Pass, generally MVFR conditions expected there, and further south, Portage Pass will be MVFR becoming IFR in the afternoon and evening, especially along the east entrance and including areas out over Prince William Sound, and then up across the far north end of the Panhandle, Chilkoot and White will see IFR conditions throughout Friday. So for Friday morning, we have the remnants of a low. It's out here in the Gulf, in the northern Gulf, and lingering precipitation, generally some light rain showers along the coast, inner channels. As you get up in the mid-upper levels of the coastal mountains, then snow, some lingering snow. But here's the hint of that next low that'll be coming up from the North Pacific that'll impact a broad area of the southwest, southern Alaska as we go into the weekend. There's already one system that is making its inroads here along the southwest coast. Friday could be some moderate icing there, Nunavik Island, YK Deltas to Bristol Bay. Further south, above 6,000 feet out over the North Pacific. a pocket there along north of the middle upper Yukon above 2,000 feet. Could be some moderate icing. And then out over the Panhandle, we could see some moderate icing in remnant areas of rain or snow, depending on elevation, above 4,000 feet. Through the northern half of the Panhandle, above 8,000 feet, especially the south end down through Dixon Entrance. And looking at the jet stream, we do have an anticyclonically curved jet core. And this is a bit of a ridge here, troughiness back out over the Bering. And we find a couple wind cores, 120 knots from the southwest coming into Bristol Bay. We have 140 knot jet max down in the North Pacific, south of the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island. If we take it to 700 millibars, 9,000 feet, we can see this belt of winds, 45 to 60 knots coming into the southwest mainland, across the Alaska Peninsula, southerly winds, and just entering the lower southwest corner of the Gulf and Kodiak Island, winds are generally out of the south, 60 to an 80 knot jet core down there in the North Pacific. And then at 3,000 feet, we find out here along Kuskokwim Bay, winds south-southwest 60 knots, and this is out over 40 to 60 knot winds there, YK deltas. And then this core of much stronger winds as high as 80 knots in the North Pacific, south of the Gulf and St. Lawrence, or Kodiak Island. And this is that feature that will be riding northward over the weekend. And as a result, we do anticipate that there will be issues with turbulence, especially taking a look here at what we got going on for the southwest areas of the western Gulf, all along the Alaska Peninsula back into the central Aleutians. We're looking at moderate turbulence. There could even be some isolated severe turbulence. Also an area of moderate turbulence, northern half and southern southwest area of the Panhandle, surface to 6,000 feet. And then perhaps a little turbulence there up around Kaktovik, surface to 3,000 feet on Friday.